Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me today in this live webinar from beautiful Ojai, California. We're going to talk today about natural treatments for insomnia, or the inability to sleep throughout the night. Now, it's important to understand that, what is good sleep. A lot of people don't know what is good sleep. People think that, waking up 2 or 3 times to urinate in the middle of the night is normal. People think waking up in the middle of the night and, staying up for a few hours, then going back to sleep is normal. And even excess dreaming can affect your sleep. And of course, we know even respiratory problems can affect your sleep. So we want good sleep. We need good sleep. We know the harm of poor sleep creates a weakness the next day, a lower immunity, which can lead to other complications in our lives, including higher blood sugar, cardiovascular problems, but mostly affecting or aggravating neurological problems and immunity by not having good sleep. And of course, our liver is doing quite a bit of detoxification and making of hormones at night. And when you're not sleeping well, this process doesn't go well, and you could have lower estrogen levels, and you could have hormonal problems also due to not sleeping well at night. So it's really essential for health. In fact, people come to me with a wide range of health problems, maybe joint pain or arthritis being one of the primary ones. But in fact, they have poor sleep. So I will always treat the sleep first. Of course, we can modify the diet and start to treat the inflammation and these underlying causes. But sleep should always be addressed initially in every person, whether in my case, I'm meeting patients, and in your case, in treating yourself. So we often get lost in our main health problem, which is often pain, or could be, high blood pressure or cholesterol or something that would require medication. And we ignore these more essential or essential type of functions of our body for creating homeostasis, a complete state of health where all the systems are working good together. And that takes good digestion, which is often ignored, good elimination, and good sleep. I would say those are the 3 pillars. If you have any other health issues and you're not digesting well, eliminating well, or sleeping well, then you should focus on those first, and you may find some of your other health issues resolve by themselves. So it's a good point, I hope, on the importance of sleep. Now, the main way to treat any health issue is what? What's the main form of treatment? The main form of treatment is to remove the cause. We see that people don't often remove the cause of their own health problems. Almost daily, I have people with high blood sugar or diabetic or even insulin dependent who are still consuming sweets or soda pop. So there's no real point to try to treat your health problem naturally or without removing the cause. This is always should be the first cause. And we see this also with people with anxiety or insomnia who are not removing the cause. Now, we're going to talk about, I have 12 causes listed here. We're going to go through these causes, and then I'll go back and talk about little treatments for each of these causes. And hopefully you can identify your cause, or probably causes. Most people will have like 3 causes, 2, 3 different causes combining together to affecting their health, which makes it more complicated to treat. So we need to address these causes, and some of these causes will be very obviously, like not having coffee during the day. And of course, many people are having coffee and other stimulants through the day and still complaining about insomnia or even taking sleeping medication. So the problem comes here is you're not removing the cause. So until you remove the cause, the herbal treatments and other treatments are not going to be very effective. So let's go through these common causes first, and hopefully you can identify which ones that you have and then I'll go back through and we'll talk about herbal treatments for each of them. Now, the first one, of course, is related to our nervous system, an overstimulated nervous system. That's right, overstimulated. Because in our society, we're pushing. If you're a single parent with a job, living on a budget, then, you have to push to survive. And I can understand that. But what happens is that, we have to take coffee, sugar, chocolate, all these stimulants. And then our nervous system becomes overly active, kind of like we become jittery. The heart starts to race. These are signs of an overly stimulated nervous system. So when you're having anxiety, heart palpitations, and you're hypersensitive to being touched or sounds or what people say, then you can conclude that your nervous system is one of your causes. It needs to be fed, it needs to be nourished, it needs to be taken care of, and there should be no stimulants. We're going to get more into that. Second cause is our actual environment, the room itself. Too much lights, too much sounds, too much electronic magnetic frequencies in our room, too much power, computers, cell phones, all are emitting EMF, electronic magnetic frequencies around them, which those who are sensitive, particularly when people have the first cause, they have a kind of a hypersensitive nervous system that's, frayed, so to speak, then these EMF will even affect them more. So we'll talk about some of these treatments. And then number 3, our lifestyle. We could see our stress, if we have a job we dislike or it's too much work, we're in relationships that are not healthy, there's too much stress in our life. So our lifestyle itself, and we often create a lot of our own lifestyle problems by pushing ourselves, requiring ourselves to do too much, over committing, over promising, overworking. So we should look at our lifestyle as well. And then mineral deficiencies, particularly if you have muscle cramps in the legs, then this is often a sign of magnesium deficiency. This is why people take magnesium, and magnesium helps with the cramps, and it helps the nerves as well, supports the nerves, and it's also relaxing the colon muscles and helping to for the bowels to move. But the real cause here, of course, is back to the nervous system. But the mineral deficiency is aggravating the nerve. So healthy form of magnesium, a food-based magnesium, would resolve this. But even improving, looking at digestion, the absorption of nutrients in the colon as well. And it could be hormonal as well. We're up to number 5, hormonal. Of course, in a menopause, there could be less estrogen, which just can create weight gain, insomnia, degenerative bone conditions. So there's many herbal hormonal replacements with phytoestrogens, the premier herb being shatavari. So we have herbal hormonal formulas, which we're not going to discuss today, but it's good to identify if it's hormonal. The point is, if you have a hormone, if you feel it's a hormonal imbalance, which most women would know, then, just taking more sleeping herbs, more sleeping medication may not be the cure. I mean, you may be able to knock yourself out with enough herbs or a strong medication, but you're better to address the hormonal imbalance with the herbs than to continue to try to sedate yourself with whether herbs or medication. So that's why it's very important to identify these, what causes you have. Next is heat. This not just means hot flashes, but some people of the body type, a mesomorph or Pitta, Prakriti body type in Ayurveda, has a lot of body heat. They can feel very hot, and this can adversely affect people's sleep. So obviously we want to treat that heat and bring down the heat. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I do have one herbal formula called Pitta Sleep, which cools you down and puts you to sleep. And then next reason would be our cause of insomnia, insecurity, fear, due to financial issues that are creating too much worry. We have many clients who were taking herbs with me for many years to help to manage their anxiety and their sleep. And then they disappeared. And I heard from them again years later. And they told me after they retired, within a month, they were sleeping fine again. So, it can just be your life and the insecurities that come with your life. Also, another one is number 8, liver toxicity. That's right. Particularly if you wake up in the middle of the night, you go to sleep at night, and then you wake up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Then usually we treat the liver with herbs and see if that does the trick and keeps them asleep. So again, if you have this type of liver toxicity, you're going to have other signs like rashes, hives, pimples, hypersensitivity to chemicals and smells in the air. This is a sign your liver's not working well. So we could treat the liver easily with taking herbs for a few weeks, a month at the most, and some cases will often go to sleep at that point without any other sleeping herbs or any other aids, because they were going to sleep. They were just waking up. So if you got that wake up in the middle of the night feeling, not to urinate, but just waking up for no apparent reason and not getting back to sleep for a good hour at 1, 2 in the morning, then this is usually related to liver toxicity. And then thinking too much, overthinking, thinking about the future. This is future doesn't exist, so that's a waste of time. We don't know what will happen. Regurgitating and rethinking about the past. Well, the past is way gone. It's only in your head or people's heads, so that's kind of a waste of time. And this creates anxiety, even anger, resentment, and these thoughts going around and around and around in your head over and over will affect your sleep. And that's why some people could be good sleepers their whole life, and at certain times, either they're to changes in their lifestyle or changes to their situation, they have insecurity and fear. They can't sleep, or they're worried more about their job or work that they're doing, so they tend to think too much. So there's many practices, of course, to help think less, including yoga, relaxation. And that's the purpose of meditation, is to stare at the dot, the candle, and to still the mind and become in control of your mind. So thinking too much is really, you've lost control of your own mind. It's gone crazy, and it's not listening to you anymore. It's just going off in its own little tangents. So this does take some training to calm the mind, but it's well worth it, because it will help you in many ways to have a more calm, still mind and to basically think less. Number 10 causes pain or inflammation. So, that's a whole nother treatment. Of course, main reason people come see me is for pain and inflammation, besides high blood pressure, cholesterol, and high blood sugar, and insomnia and anxiety. Those would be the main areas that people come to me for herbal treatments. But if there's pain and inflammation, then obviously we're not going to sleep well without painkillers. And then we treat the pain, the inflammation, which we're going to only briefly touch on here. And then, of course, breathing problems, respiratory problems, or sleep apnea. Once you start snoring, you're already having signs of poor breathing. So, that's kind of the early sign that you're breathing poor. Then it's that already some blockage there, either in the nasal passages, even opening your mouth while you're breathing while you're sleeping. Then, these are signs that you have some blockages in the nasal passages, and this could clearly affect your sleep. In fact, your body could stop breathing for a moment, a second, and then you would wake up, and doctors can diagnose this and give you a sleep apnea machine. However, we can treat the respiratory problem with herbs and changes in diet. No more dairy, no more yogurt, no more, congestive foods, and have more warm, hot spices, soups, and things to clear it up, and take respiratory herbs to clear up the breathing. So those are one more cause here on my list, nocturnal urination. That's right. Very common. And unfortunately, elderly people, particularly elderly women, think it's normal. Well, I just tell you now, it's not normal. I always remind people that my 83-year-old mother also reminds people that, nighttime urination is not normal. So it is a sign of a problem with the urinary system. It can be infection, it could be blockage, it could be kidney stones, it could be, but it's a problem with this bladder, kidney, bladder, urinary tract pathway. And generally these people are either urinating a lot in the day, it's kind of infected and sensitive, and they're having little urinations through the day, or they're not, it's kind of not urinating much, and there's a lot of dripping and incomplete urination. So this is like more of a blockage. But in both cases, you can end up urinating at night when you're not supposed to. I always give the analogy that it's the same as you parked your car in the garage, and the next day when you pulled out, there was a big puddle of water there. Well, that's not normal. So if you take it to a car mechanic, he can fix his problem. But you don't want to just live with these problems. All of these health issues, you don't want to live with nighttime urination. You don't want to live with pain. You don't want to live with insomnia. You want to address it and be willing to remove the causes. That has to be number one. So let's go back to our main number one cause here, the nervous system. So if the nerves are fried, like you could say they're hungry, like they're like a crying baby. You're having, so example of someone having a panic attack. Everything is, their eyes are moving, their heart's racing, they're shaking, and they're anxious, and they're panicky, and even could break down. Some people will break down and cry. Some people will break down and have anger, but there can be a breakdown as a result. So the nerves are, frazzled, fried, oversensitive. What people say, loud noises, everything is affecting them. And one reason is due to low-fat diet and being underweight. If we notice, it's mostly skinny, little, thin people who are having more anxiety than the overweight people. The overweight people can have that respiratory congestion and have sleeping problems that started with snoring and then like sleep apnea. But for when it comes to the nerves, we find it's mostly thin people, particularly underweight people. In fact, many thin people came to me and said, I have anxiety, nervousness, and insomnia. And usually there's some digestive problems involved as well, gas, bloating, constipation. So I take care of all these problems, change their diet, make it easy to digest, give them herbs to relax, herbs to sleep, tell them to eat more foods and have more butter and even cheese and rice and all these bananas for snacks. So they go, okay, great. This sounds wonderful, sounds yummy. So they go 1 month later, they come back and they go, oh yeah, eating all that soup and soft food really helped my digestion, and my elimination's great. The relaxing tea is wonderful. I'm sleeping good with the sleeping formula, but there's a new problem I have. And I go, what's the new problem? They go, well, I put on 10 pounds. And I say, don't worry about it. You look great. Wonderful. Just keep eating, keep going. It won't keep going up. And it doesn't. Usually it just goes up, 10, 15 pounds, and then it plateaus out. And what that shows me is the person was underweight in the beginning. And when they started eating more meals, stopped skipping meals, and started eating more, the weight came up to what it should be as its natural weight. So there's many people that are underweight because of their obsession with trying to stay thin. I'm mostly speaking about women here, due to the social pressure that we have. And then they starve themselves, just eat salads, skip lunches. And, many of us know that if you're not eating, you become more anxious and nervous. So if you're already an anxious, nervous, sensitive person and you start skipping meals and just eating salads and are going really crazy and going grain-free, I know there's some of you out there who've done it, one of these new fad diets, going grain-free, then you're going to have more anxiety. And the reason we like grains is because they're comfort foods and they do relax and support the nervous system. And the reason I say that you become crazy when you don't have grains is because I've seen it, where that people come in, and maybe even very overweight people who probably shouldn't be eating much wheat, have gone completely grain-free. No millet, no buckwheat, no quinoa, just crazy, grain-free. Even they go more crazy nowadays and go carb-free, which is really practically impossible unless you're just eating meat. But what they tell me is that at first they lost a lot of weight, but they had tremendous cravings, and they started to become anxious and nervous. And even people who were overweight started to have anxiety and nervousness after not having any grains for a while. And we know that our whole wheat, our rice, they're high in B vitamins. What does B vitamins support? Our nervous system. So, you're further depriving your nervous system in the effort to lose weight, and then your anxiety goes up. So, and then other main cause we find of people's nervous system being, agitated would be too many stimulants. So I always remove the stimulants. Of course, we know coffee, and you can't just say, I only have 1 cup of coffee. Don't be saying that. That's just thinking. If you're not sleeping and you have anxiety, no coffee. In fact, not even decaf coffee. Decaf is still got little caffeine. It's still drying. It's still a diuretic. You don't want it. And that goes on to no green tea, no black tea. Just why would you want stimulants when you're a nervous, anxious, hyperactive, anxious person who can't sleep at night? You don't need it. You need to go the other direction. Slow down, calm down. So no sugar, nothing with sweets, no cookies, no candy, no cakes. You can have bananas, you can have dates. Dates and bananas are not sugar. We're talking about white processed sugar, which is in your donuts or which is in your Starbucks muffin. That's all sugar. That counts as sugar. And then next, you have to remove, this could be tough for some of you, sit down, chocolate. That's right. No chocolate. Already we did the coffee. No coffee. I know that's tough for some people. But then no chocolate. Chocolate's very stimulating, and even though it's got a little magnesium in it, it's maybe 90% cacao. You can justify it all you want, but it's very stimulating. And many people know this. I mean, if you have chocolate at night, you may not sleep. Of course, it could put you in the mood for love, but it's not good for sleep. Possibly you could do a little in the morning as a compromise if you're addicted, but no coffee. And no sugar, no sweets, and really no chocolate. So and no, of course, Red Bull. Anything crazy stimulating like that, of course, would have to go. And a lot of, somebody asked about honey. Honey's okay. That's right. Honey's not sugar. You can have your banana, you can have your dates if you're not overweight or you're not diabetic, and you can have honey. That's right. Just have honey in your oatmeal. And even sugar cane is not that bad. You can get raw sugar cane for some people. For children, you can put it in there. We can see that a lot of children are overstimulated. If you've ever sat on a plane or a train where there's a child next to you and the mother gives them a little piece of candy, you watch the child becomes all hyper and excited, and next thing you know, you have a child jumping up and down on your lap, and you're playing around and screaming and having a great old time with this 3-year-old. I've done it many times. But then they crash, and then they cry, and then they just pass out. So we're going through the same cycle of kind of stimulation. Instead of crying, we just have a little panic, and then we crash in exhaustion of just burning ourselves out. So why are people taking all the coffee when they can't sleep and have anxiety? Mostly because they burn themselves out. I talked about this as a cause number 3, your lifestyle, overworking, overpushing, too much stress in your life. So cut back on the commitments, cut back on saying yes to everything, cut back on promising more, cut back on the new project, the new idea, and try to relax, spend more time not working, not pushing yourself, resting. I think it's very important in our society where we seem to be obsessed with achievement and productivity and pushing ourselves, and can never relax and take it easy and just do nothing, sit outside like I do every day and just watch the birds. That's the good practice. People always ask me, Khabir, what are you doing out here? I said, I'm watching the birds. And I said, why are you watching the birds? Because That stops me from thinking. It helps me relax. I just think of nothing, watch the chickens, the roosters, the doves, going around my yard. Well, the doves are in a cage, but the roosters are out and the ducks are out swimming in the pond, and it's very relaxing. We should do more things like this. Lying on the beach, listening to the ocean waves, something relaxing, not always pushing ourselves. Try to have more vacations, more rest. Don't just work your butt off and drink coffee for 6 months and then go take a vacation for a week. That doesn't work. You need to be resting every day, slower. Yoga, meditation. These are all addressing some of these other issues that we talked about here. And then we did talk about magnesium and mineral deficiency. So you can take natural form of magnesium, like from one of the companies that make food-based magnesium. This is quite good. And there's many foods that are high in magnesium. But it generally means that if you're eating 3 meals a day, a lot of people with magnesium deficiencies are the ones trying to lose weight, skipping meals, not eating much. So most people, when they get back to eating 3 big meals a day, and then they start to improve their digestion and improve their elimination and get basically more food coming through them because they're eliminating more, eating more. So you'll then get enough magnesium. But in our time where all the food is somewhat depleted because of our agricultural practices, it's not uncommon to have this mineral deficiency. So we have different herbal products here that are for nutritional purposes as well. We've got herbs to support the bones that are high in minerals. We've got herbs that are superfood formulas that are full of nutrients. So generally, we don't give out vitamins here because it's an herbal clinic. So we'll give herbs that have high amounts of minerals and calcium and magnesium in it to help build the bones and avoid these muscle cramps and ultimately help you sleep better. So, and liver toxicity, needs to be treated with herbs. Pain needs to be treated with anti-inflammatory diet and anti-inflammatory herbs, like this one here, where we're using their shilajit and shilaki, which is boswellia or frankincense, and we use the whole frankincense powder and the extract, and curcumin and turmeric as well. We use the whole turmeric powder plus the extract. So this is very, very effective in bringing down inflammation and pain, and may be necessary for you to get to sleep at night. So let's talk about some of the herbal supplements here, which are mostly focused on the nervous system. So if you have one of these other causes, like your room is not conducive to sleeping, then you may have to make some changes to your room. I tell people sometimes go try to sleep in the middle of the living room on the floor or something, away from all these power, electricity, and plugs, and see if you get to sleep. And many people have told me they can go sleep on the living room sofa, no problem, but they can't sleep in their own bedroom. So this is a problem. Also, I've suggested to people just go flip the circuit breaker off in your bedroom and see if you sleep. And if so, then you're being affected by this electronic waves, EMF, magnetic frequencies that are being generated from all the power plugs running through the wall, which are maybe only a foot away from your bed. Other people have told me that they pulled their bed out like a foot and a half from the wall and suddenly started sleeping better. And soft beds can be worse than more firm beds too. So I don't think you need to buy an expensive bed. I only sleep on a futon. And some people find futons a little hard at first, but after a while, I think it does improve the sleep over a too soft of a bed. Lights, flashing lights tend to be a problem, particularly blue light, sounds, beeping, computers, cell phones. You should take the cell phone out of the room. And even you may have to turn the Wi-Fi off. At least you don't want it in your room. You can turn Wi-Fi off at night and turn it back on in the morning. So this would be good for the whole family, particularly children who tend to be very sensitive. So let's look at here. Probably the first line of defense would be just trying some common sleeping herbs here. Most popular one we got right here. It's in a bag, so I'm going to bring it out for you. There it is. Can we see that? Yep. Right? Pretty nice, huh? Little flowers. Little flowers. Those are chamomile flowers. And it's noticed a lot of times the sleeping herbs are flowers. That's right. You know, we find bark is hard and good for cleaning, and we have used certain herbs that are made from barks. Roots are very nourishing, and leaves have many cleansing properties as well. But it tends to be the flowers that are more relaxing and good for the nervous system. And that would be also for lavender. See, lavender is a nice little lavender flower, nice smell. You can get, you know, I have a lot of lavender here. So sometimes for like a child, I'll just get like a little cloth bag and put a handful of lavender in it and just give it to the mother and tell her, just drop it in the crib for the baby. And that little sweet smell of lavender will help the child to sleep. And if you're going to take a bath, as a good home remedy, is a nice salt bath, particularly have those muscle cramps as well. Take a salt bath with a cup of salt and put some rose petals on the top of the bath, or lavender. People like lavender oil, but Cleopatra, she said rose petals. Wow, those are really nice, really nice. And just smelling them a little bit, you can feel the relaxing effect there. And there's other types of herbs as well. We have hops. You know, it's not for making beer, but it's a strong sedative. It's not used as much in commercial teas, hops, maybe because it's association with beer. So generally, commercial teas in the store tend to use a lot of, you know, chamomile, lavender, but a much stronger sedative is hops. And also we have another strong sedative here, poppy seed. It's kind of hard to see here, but let's see here. It's little tiny seeds. See little seeds. You know, it's well, that poppy seed, you eat a bunch of them and you feel a sedative effect. So that's what makes my tea here so strong, is these strong sedatives. If we look at the ingredients here, we get lemon balm as kind of like a base, and that's a nice, it's from the mint family, but it's probably not going to put you to sleep, but it's working as a base here, really. And then catnip, which we have to hide on the very top of our shelf because the cats will attack it. And I was growing some catnip, and I gave it to the cats. They liked it. So that's a nervine. And then there's chamomile and the flowers, lavender. And there's passion flower too. So another flower. And there's our two big heavy hitters, poppy seed and hops. And then we just put a little licorice, it's kind of like a catalyst to bring it all together. And then some rose hips, which is also from the rose plant. So this calms the mind, reduces the thinking, and has a nice little sedative effect, no doubt about it. Now in Indian herbs, that's a tea. Now the powders, those are good poppy seeds. The powders here tend to be stronger. So remember, a tea only has so much power because you're only having an infusion, but the sleeping powder is going to be much stronger. These are Indian herbs: Jatamatsi, Tagar, Shankpushpi, Sapgandha, and Brahmi. Maybe you've heard of Brahmi, but Tagar is related to valerium. It's called Indian valerium, and that's the second ingredient. And Jatamatsi is also a very relaxing nervine, and Tagar is a sedative. So the powders are always going to be stronger in any formula than a tea. A tea is kind of just an infusion, but when you take the powder, you're ingesting the herbs. That's why I say if you take a tablespoon of those poppy seeds, it's fairly sedative by consuming them and eating them. But if you made a tea from it, it could just be relaxing and you'd have a mild effect. But if you eat those poppy seeds, you really feel it. So what we often do is just combine the two together, tell people to have relaxing, the sleeping tea in the early evening, and then have some of the sleeping formula closer to bed and just a little bit of water. And then we also have a sleeping oil. Some of the same herbs are just in oil form. It's in sesame oil, and there's even nutmeg in there, which is another mild sedative, and there's chamomile, in there as well, and passion flower. So we often recommend this to be put on your feet. Now, this sleeping oil all by itself works very well for children, like even a 2-year-old, 3-year-old that's not sleeping well. Just rub it on the feet. Rub it on the child's feet. That's maybe all you need to get a 2-year-old to sleep. It's just a sleeping oil. Now, when my son was a baby, I used to make a tea, sleeping tea, and then I had the milk. And, you should warm up the milk. But I found a good trick was just half a cup of cold milk plus a cup of hot sleeping tea mixed together, made kind of warmish milk, and put the boy to sleep in no time at all. So I did that for a long time, and that really helped me to get my son to sleep earlier. And of course, you have to remember, you can't have all the stimulants. You have to have a good bed. You should try to be relaxing, not pushing yourself in all of these other areas you need to be doing. And like I said, taking that bath can really help a lot. We have another formula here called Pitta Sleep. And this is for people who have heat. They get hot at night, and their body's very hot because some of these other herbs like tagar, which is related to valerium, are heating. So if you give them some person who's hot or sweaty at night, and this seems to be one of their causes, and you give them the sleeping herbs, they can get more hot. So we have a tea that's got some nervines in it, doesn't have the tagar or the valerium, Indian valerium root, and some cooling herbs. We put some rose powder in there, powder of rose petals, and a little pearl. These are cooling herbs, so we try to cool the body down and relax the nerves without overheating it. So that's just a special formula. We also have little relaxing and calming oils that we have people, it can just put in the nose, in the nostrils. This is like a calming oil. Also works well for young children. You just put a little bit in the nostrils there. Some of these oils, we just put them right underneath the nose and breathe them in. Even this sleeping oil right here, you can take a little bit of the sleeping oil and put it on a young child and just put it right here in the nose so they inhale it. And that helps. You can put a little on the temples here, sometimes on the top of the head, the bottom of the feet for maybe a 4 or 5-year-old, and that may be enough to get them to sleep. But the nose one is slow acting. The oils are like time released. They don't happen quickly, but they happen slowly. And then people who have insomnia often have anxiety as well. So we generally give them some relaxing tea in the day. And this has got some of the same herbs, lemon balm, skullcap, which is more a nervine than a sedative, catnip again, motherwort, lavender, oat straw, which is very good for feeding the nerves. And there's that passion flower again. So this can really help to feed the herbs, particularly this oat straw, oats. There it is right there. See, oats. This is not the same oats you give your horse. This is really fine, clean, oats here. And oats is like food for the herbs. In fact, a lot of these herbs, particularly this calming formula, is like food for the nerves. There's a Jatamatsi again, Shangpushpi, Brahmi, and a little bit of Targar. Almost the same ingredients, just proportions are different over the sleeping herb. The sleeping herb has more sedatives, and the relaxing herb has more nervines and just little sedatives because you don't want to go to sleep in the day. People have told me they've combined the two together and got good results as well. People have said they've taken the calming formula and just put it in with the sleeping tea and worked great. The strongest formula we have is to get make the sleeping tea and put the sleeping formula in it. Like with most herbs, you can increase the dosage as you need it. These are just plants in powder form. So, it may say 1 teaspoon, but I know people taking 2-3 teaspoons a night to get to sleep, particularly if they have a lot of stress and worry and they just want to stop the mind from thinking. But you take too much of these sedatives and you can feel a little groggy in the morning. But they do work. but you have to take care of your daily life and not be too stressed. A lot of times people who have are taking too much stimulants because they burned out or have adrenal fatigue, we give them other herbs like this vitality tonic, which kind of gives them a little energy by using ashwagandha, and it's for weakness. It says right on there for insomnia and anxiety, even though it's a vitality tonic. So we give them that during the day to keep them strong, to keep the vitality there without stimulating their nervous system. So like I was saying earlier, the oats and some passion flower and this vitality tonic, they're like food for the nervous system. Remember the example of the freaking out nervous system? Well, think of it like a crying baby. Feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, because it's all nervous and freaking out. So when you give them oat straw, passion flower, these herbs, it's like the nervous system is like, oh, thank you. And that's why they like grains and rice and wheat as well, because it's also good food, good nutrition for the nervous system. So we don't want to starve our nervous system by not eating or not having any grains. And we don't want to stimulate our nervous system, just like we wouldn't want to overstimulate a crying baby with coffee, sugar, chocolate, and all of these TV, news. This all can be very stimulating. The computer, sitting in front of the computer, watching the TV, was the old problem we had in the past. Now it's computers and social media that are overstimulating us, with multiple screens, and you got your cell phone, you have your TV screen, you have your computer screen, and you have all this information going into the brain, and it's trying to process it all, and it's overstimulated, and then when you turn it off, your brain is still going. So you really need to make an effort to change your environment, change your lifestyle, change your habits, change your attitude towards pushing yourself, driving yourself, and focus on your supporting your nervous system and making your sleeping environment more suitable for you. And this is the main issues. Again, like I said, pain, we should treat pain separately. We should treat respiratory problems separately. We should treat hormonal issues separately. Sometimes there's, nighttime urination. This is a very typical cause, and it's easy to get rid of. It's easy to treat. I don't have the herbs sitting in front of me, but I've done other webinars just on nighttime urination and kidney bladder problems. And I often like to take care of this first with a new client because it's easy to treat. The results are good. You don't have to cleanse the bladder for months and months and months. Just 1 week of taking the herbs, flushing out the bladder, generally seems to be enough. So I'm not going to give you the sleeping herbs right away. If I know the cause is nighttime urination or hormonal, I'm going to treat the hormonal condition. Same with the, sleep apnea or difficulty breathing at night. So there's no point to take the sleeping herbs. In fact, we wouldn't want to relax the muscles anymore when there's sleep apnea, but we need to clear the respiratory system, which often requires a change of diet. So I hope that gave you some hope to deal with your sleeping condition. I would say a lot more than half the clients, we can resolve this just on the first appointment, just with the herbs we came here that we talked about here today and removing these stimulants. And then other people, it takes a month or so, and they're taking the herbs every day for a while, and they're eating more and improving digestion, relaxing more, going to yoga class. And then we find in a month or two, they're sleeping. And often people, the longer they take the herbs, the less they need, because then they're in your system. They're every day, they're in your system, and you've had plenty of time to change your life and change your sleeping environment and find other sleeping aids like sleeping music, waves, sounds of waves, or nature sounds that you play, taking hot baths, lavender baths, and maybe put a little essential oil diffuser in the room with lavender. And the little things that you can do long term are often very useful. And altogether, along with the herbs, then the person starts sleeping, and then they need the herbs less and less over time. Yeah, somebody's asking about fear, and post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, sometimes counseling is necessary to work through psychological issues, particularly past trauma, and that's outside my expertise. But the herbs can be a great tool to help the person to have something to turn to. Many people come to me with anxiety, panic attacks, as well as insomnia. They often go together. So when you have a tool, you have a calming formula, you have some to turn to take when you feel anxious, you have a tea to drink all day to keep you a little calmer, then you feel more secure because you have these like helpers or friends. That's what people told me about some of these herbs, is that they feel the relaxing tea or the calming tea is like their best friend, and they can carry it with them all the time, and it gives them some comfort to know that it's there, and by taking a couple teaspoons they can feel some relief, even if not for a few hours. And the beauty is they're not going to harm your liver, harm your kidneys, or have adverse effects. So I have people that have been taking these herbs for more than a decade, and there's many Indians I meet in India who are taking some sleeping herb like tagar for 40-50 years. They're just taking a little bit every single night, and this has been working good for them. And since it is just a root in the first place, there's no harm. In fact, there's a lot of positive benefits of taking most herbs, because all herbs have some vitamins and minerals in them. But with herbs, you generally get some positive side benefits, and one of them is the nutritional benefit that comes with having these plants and minerals, plants in this powdered form or tea form. Your hibiscus, it's got a lot of vitamin C. All these some of these herbs to relax have high amounts of magnesium in them when tested. They're just a powdered plant that had a lot of these minerals in it that happen to have a lot of calcium and magnesium and trace minerals. And people have just known that it's helped them to sleep and help their nerves for years. And these formulas, if another Ayurvedic doctor looked at these herbal formulas, or another herbalist looked at the Western formulas, they'd say these are very common formulas. There's nothing radical about these formulas. They're kind of traditional in a sense. They're not proprietary. They're not patented in any way. And they're very straightforward. And I think any Western herbalist has seen similar combinations as that, because these are very old formulas. Even Western herbalists, had similar formulas like this over 100 years ago. And these Indian formulas are even older. So I encourage you to change your life, change your room, change your habits, change your thinking, and take some herbs to help you get through the night and sleep better. So, and then let me know if you need more assistance with your health or some of these herbal products. I'd be happy to help you. Thank you. I sincerely hope you learned from this video and benefited from all the information. This knowledge is not my knowledge, nor is this information new, but part of the ancient healthcare system called Ayurveda, the science of life. I hope my videos explaining the Ayurvedic approach in a simple and clear manner helped you to overcome your health issues. However, if you have a complex or serious health condition, I highly recommend that you contact me personally so I can meet with you here in my clinic in Ojai, California, or in an online conference call, so I can properly diagnose your condition and provide you with an individualized diet and custom herbal formulas. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel below and visit my website for more information, appointment fees, upcoming events, and my schedule. And I wish you the best of health and happiness.